Hey, sparklers, welcome back to another episode of Ignite Your Spark with Kim Duff Selby. Yep, that's me, your host, and the CFO of my brand, the Chief Fun Officer. That's right. Today, we're going to bring you some fun and some information. And I say we because my wonderful, charming guest is Jeanine Thompson. And I'm very, very excited that she is here because I learned a lot from her book, which is called 911 from Your Soul. And it is powerful. Jeanine is a speaker, a transformational coach, a former clinical psychotherapist, and Fortune 50 executive, and now author. And I also love that she is very passionate about helping the world and really concerned about nature, but also helping the world. She's volunteered for a long, long time in the hospice arena. And that's a challenging area in which to work, as any of you know who might have experienced a loved one going through this. So she has a huge heart. And we're going to talk to her about one of the things we're going to talk to her about is, can doing nothing help you discover your truth? I love that. But let's get to her, not me. Welcome, Jeanine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be with you and your listeners, Kim.
Yeah, we are going to just ignite some sparks with your energy and your information. I know it today. But before we dive in and get all the juicy details on you and your book and your offerings in the world, I'm going to ask you, how do you ignite your spark?
I love this question so much. I think for me, I invite myself every day to fall in love with life again. And so, nature is, not only is it a vital life force, it sends us such beautiful love notes every day. So as I commune in nature, I invite myself to notice what I notice. And there's always like a love note. And I am in such extreme awe and wonder about how life speaks to us. So that's one of the primary ways that I fall in love with life every day. But other ways are yoga and meditation. I love to cook. I love my family and friends and movement and music and dance. And I love life. And each day I kind of tune in to say, what is it today? Maybe it's a nap or Netflix. Who knows, for the day. But that's what ignites me and makes me come alive in the world.
I really love that. You fall in love with life again every day. That's such a powerful lesson for us to remember, because we can look outside of our windows and see a tree, and that will help you fall in love with life again, because look how this tree grew, whether it was from an acorn or whatever. I mean, there's so many things we can see each and every day. I call it the magic of life. And that was my word of the year, magic. And I've sort of forgotten about it a little bit, but every once in a while, I will speak to someone such as yourself who reminds me, yeah, that's magic. How a flower grows, that's magic.
It is. It's complete wonderment to me. And it helps me get out of my busy brain. Sometimes I'm so stuck in that busy brain. And then it brings me back into the awe and wonder and the mystery of life, and the support of life.
If someone takes nothing out of this except that is so wonderful, to really reawaken your senses, your sensibilities, your body, mind, heart, and soul to magic, to the wonder, to fall in love with life again. So great. Thanks for that. That was a really unique answer too. I like that. All right, so we'll get into you. First of all, a Fortune 50 executive, what did you do in the Fortune 50 world?
Yeah, I held a number of roles, but my primary role was running international human resources. So my team and I were part of the bigger international team opening brick and mortar stores across the globe.
Yeah, I know in your book, you talk about all the travel and how you had your own 911 for the
Yeah.
soul. I'm trying to think if we should find out yours, or why don't you describe what a 911 for the soul is first, in your terms?
Yeah, so I will describe, I coined that phrase, 911 from your soul, because of my own personal experience. It was a time in my life where I'm pretty sure others from the outside looking in would have said, wow, she's got it. She's made it. She's so successful. She's so lucky. She has wonderful kids. She's got the big job and travel and security and the stuff. She's got all the stuff and her life must, she's made it. But even with all of that success, there was this persistent restlessness and yearning, like something was off or missing, and I could not figure it out. I tried to gratitude it away. I'm like, wait a minute, I am blessed, I'm lucky, I love my team, I love my kids, I love my job. What is it? And ultimately, it led me on a journey to explore yoga and Reiki, and it brought me home to my soul. And it was through that whole process of my traditional resources failing me. Like everything I knew wasn't helping me find my answer. And I had to learn that only through the inward journey could we live the richest life full of meaning.
Mm. Well, everybody knows that we should go inward, that we should meditate, but it's really, really hard to do. Did you find it challenging to be still, to go within?
I did. I absolutely did. And and I didn't know. See, here's the thing. I got surprised. I didn't know you were supposed to go inward during that time in my life. I was evidence-based, science-based. We had standard operating procedures and protocols, and we weren't talking about heart intelligence or soul. So I kind of got taken off guard. I think you're right. Nowadays, most people knew, but for me, and I would imagine a fair amount of leaders that I still work with, it's a new journey for them. So this whole thing about stillness and inward, I think the universe got a good giggle with me because there was no way this type A 200,000 plus international miles a year in a plane, single mom, go, 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 go. The idea of being still felt unproductive. It felt idle. It felt wasteful. I didn't have time for it. So to answer your
Mhm.
question, yes, I found it very challenging at first. But as is the case, I'm like, there's got to be a way to make this simple, and there really is. There was a way to simplify it that made it possible for me to test and try it.
When you got your 911 from the soul, was it due to an illness or just an inner feeling that something wasn't right?
For me, it was the something wasn't right. So that led me on this massive search. I literally visited sacred sites, did sacred reading, saw all sorts of healers and shaman, read books. I just went on this massive search. Like I have to figure out what was missing. Um, and like I said, ultimately it led me to yoga and Reiki. But the distinction there was the union of mind, body, and spirit. And that was the first time in my educational career that I had become familiarized with those perspectives in that way. And then I became
Mm.
obsessed with soul. Everything soul, like everywhere I went, it was, I could see soul, I could feel soul. So for me, it was that something missing. And I love your question though about was it an illness for me? I did have an illness early in my 20s. ulcerative colitis, which was a pretty tough time. And what is important with a 911 is not all stressors actually lead to a 911. There was many things I went through my life, my ulcerative colitis, a divorce, death of friends, some challenging medical history with my children, all were, I think, life shaping in many ways. But they did not bring me inward to my soul. They did not bring me inward to want to explore what is this divine consciousness and who am I and what am I really here to do and what is the purpose of life. So there was a different, I call it a holy reassembly with a 911, where it's not only this magnetic pull inward, it's this fundamental, radical kind of reshaping of who you know yourself to be. You start knowing yourself to be more than just a human being. We're a spiritual being in these wonder suits that are amazing.
Yeah, I love how you call it a wonder suit.
Yeah,
It's very telling about your personality and your purpose on earth. It is very positive and uplifting. It's not being saddled with the human body, it's a wonder suit. And we have the opportunity to grow, learn, challenge ourselves through all of the experience we're living here in this earth body wearing our wonder suits. Such a cute word for it.
thank
Oh my
you.
gosh.
So glad it resonated.
Yeah, it did. The whole thing, your whole book resonated. So, did you leave your job while you were doing this exploration through
I
yoga
did.
and Reiki?
I did indeed. In fact, the whispers had persisted for years before I left, as they often do. We get knowings, but I didn't want to know what I knew. I kept
Hmm.
hearing, it's time for you to leave. There's something more for you. There's something more through you. And I'm like, yeah, in 4 years. My timeline is 4 years. That was my human timeline. And life does what the utter intelligence of life does when it's time for you to grow beyond where you are. It makes a shift for you. And
Yeah.
so I did, although it was voluntary, I did leave my Fortune 50 career, and I decided to take the leap and go explore.
And is that what brought you to coaching?
It is ultimately, yep. Once I went through my master Reiki and certified yoga teacher training, then I decided to open up a coaching business. I tried it for a couple of years, couldn't quite get a lift. So I went back into global business for another 2 years. And I knew when I went back to global business, it's like, no, you are meant to touch people's lives from outside the
Hmm.
business walls. And so after a couple of years, I went back and started my coaching practice, and I've been doing that the last 12 years.
Got it. You also have a master's in social work. I
I
recall
do.
reading that. You were a psychotherapist. I mean,
Mhm.
you've done a lot. And what I always find interesting is that people who go into the transformational coaching field, whether it's through RTT or another title for transformational coaching, have often been in their previous life, so to speak, on this earth now, in human resources or in a field helping others, counseling or whatever it is, the social work. You have always had that, I guess, true essence of who you are is helping others. And it's interesting that it took you from what you were doing
Yeah.
into the moment where we have arrived now of your being who you are meant to be, helping others uncover their light, basically.
Yes. And in a way that I couldn't have chosen in my 20s, right? I think that's
Right.
the intelligence of life, or a dharma in your life path. Evidence-based psychotherapy was all science oriented, proven, known. Then I go into the business world for 12 years. I had never even taken a business class in college. That was set up by divine synchronicity. And then I land in yoga and Reiki and open my coaching business. No career coach would have ever recommended that path. I
Right.
certainly couldn't have done it. I think that's the great mystery of all that is.
Yeah.
A hand hovering over and guiding my life, and bringing me back to business, because I believe that business is the largest breathing organism alive. There's nothing that business doesn't touch: the land, the air, people, creatures, animals, water, everything. And probably only if I had been kind of credible through the sciences, through being a Fortune 50 executive, could I even now come back and teach the idea of soul and the power of love in business to business leaders of all sizes.
Is that who you primarily work with, are business leaders?
It is. Typically, they're executives, they're entrepreneurs, or high achievers. There's a lot of people who own their own business, and they need help remembering the wealth of intelligence and power they are. But yes, predominantly business leaders.
Yeah, I did know that. I just wanted people to know. I just know
Yeah,
because of what I've read in your book.
yeah.
And oh my gosh, there's so much to really dig into in your book. And I think the reason, oh, what I was going to say is, I think the reason why people are going to resonate with you, business leaders, because you also have that logical
Uh-huh.
background, science driven based, and the spiritual side. So when someone is looking to really enhance their lives and perhaps they're on that hardcore career path, they want someone who's going to know the science behind the soul, basically.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And listen, I mean, I love business. Business is vital. I just think we have to change the paradigm and the fabric of business so it contributes more holistically to its employees and the community and earth. But we need the beauty of the and. We still will always have the science. We need it. And we need to also appreciate that although it is not yet proven, the invisible is just as real.
Yeah. I really like how you said that, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to unpack the power of the and just a little bit more. Is that we don't want to focus, in my mind, what I'm gathering from this is on one thing too much. You don't want to just give all your power away to science. You don't want to give all your power away to spirit, whatever it is. You need the and. There's this and that. And I think that's a really good reminder to people.
Mhm, mhm. Well, I think we are divine and human, so we can't
Yeah,
ignore the fact that we're still traversing in these earth suits, these wonder suits, right?
right.
So part of the book is the soul solution, and each of the chapters are the 7 key spiritual principles: soul, mind, body, heart, service, gratitude, and love. And when I go through those principles, I teach them about the earth view of the principle and the soul view of the principle,
Mhm.
and how we navigate life through the beauty of the and. How do we move through both of them as a human, but as our highest divine expression? So
Right.
it's a different way, like the earth view of mind. When we're stuck in our 70,000 earth view thoughts, they're usually fear-based. What if I can't fix this? What if I'm not enough? What if this blows up? It's typically on what's going to go wrong. When we
Right.
are in the soul view of mind, the canvas is unlimited. We're no longer even at the level of the problem. We're at the level of the aerial view of unlimited possibility. We're connected to the universal mind where every single thing you want to know exists, right? So there's such a different canvas. Same with heart. Physical view of heart is the pump organ, right? The earth view is the physical pump organ. And the soul view are what the mystics and the scholars knew, that this spiritual heart, that is the voice of the soul. That is the treasure trove of wisdom, downloads, creativity, magic in your words.
Yes. So someone is listening and they think, well, I want to access that. I want more of that. I
Yeah,
know you give us some ideas in all of your solutions in the book, but what can you share with us that might give someone a taste of that, how
sure.
we can access our soul?
Yeah. So I'll share a couple of practices with you. One is stillness. So if we go back to, we had kind of danced around it earlier. So I'm going to come back to that. Literally, if you just practice closing your eyes, getting comfortable, and literally say the words in your mind, I am still. I am still. And then place one hand on your heart center, one hand on your belly, and that'll help you shift your awareness to the core of your being. And, sometimes that busy brain takes off again, and you simply say, noted, retouch, hand on heart center, hand on belly. Bring your awareness to the core of the being and really feel your breath, like feel it. Feel your belly expand, feel your belly contract. Just follow consciously the movement of your breath and listen. You see, stillness is the opposite. We're taught to believe we have to fix it, we have to figure it out. But actually, in the soul's wisdom, all we need to do is surrender into the breath and listen. So if you can just practice 30 seconds a day, if you're resistant like I was, I get it. Work your way up to 2 minutes, maybe longer. For those of you who already do this, we just encourage you to get back with the conscious joining of the breath and the listening.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes. Yeah. When you're concentrating on your breath, you're in the present moment. I believe you said that.
exactly. And we
Yeah.
get out of our busy brain, right? That 70,000 thoughts, they're so seductive. And the outer world is so seductive, saying, look at me, watch me, here's where your answers are. So we keep have to saying, I am still, come back to the being. That's one. Another is simply 5 sense immersion. I love this. When you find something that captures your notice, captures your attention, like I want you to just really immerse in it. What do you see? Like, what are the colors? Are there different colors? Are there dimensions to the colors? Really invite your sight in. What do you smell? Like, go up, smell it again, wonder about that smell. Are you noticing smells around you? Touch. Can you touch it? Is it sticky? Is it soft? Is it smooth? What do you hear? And if there's something around you that you can taste, taste something. And if not, imagine tasting your favorite ice cream or your favorite food. When we immerse ourselves in the 5 senses, that also opens up a gateway to expanded creativity. So there's all sorts of ways, but those are two simple ways that you can start doing as soon as you get off the podcast.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to take that in mind because I'm one of those people who knows all this stuff. I know, I've heard it, I've read it, I've learned it, I've spoken to people, but I also don't take the time. I mean, I do meditate every day, but I don't take the time, like you just said, with the 5 senses, which is very NLP oriented.
Yeah.
I done a training in that as well. And I really realize when you say it, how vital and important that is. How often we rush through our meals, not savoring the taste, not smelling it, just fueling our bodies, which is important.
Yeah.
But, however, we need to be grateful for this food and really look at it, touch it, smell it,
Yes.
and
We
get
get to
involved in it. Yeah.
and we get to fall in love with life again all over in that moment.
Yes.
It's like food is a wonder. Oh my gosh, like it's flipping amazing. It's amazing how it's made. It's amazing how it got to you. And I just, like, you can see I get so excited just talking about
Yeah.
even food, but that is the wonder of falling in love with life again. And you can do that even when you're having a 911 from your soul,
Mm.
because the very invitation of a 911, even though it's this yearning or this challenge or this crisis, and it feels like life is tipped upside down, it's actually life saying, Yoo-hoo, I love you. And this challenge is just masquerading as the greatest invitation for you
Mm.
to get to know more of who you really are and to rise even stronger.
Ooh, yes. Yes, that's such a great reminder. And it doesn't have to be a huge, huge event. And I
Right.
think that possibly someone listening to this could preclude a 911 from your soul
Yeah.
by taking the time now before something blows up in your face, head, world,
Yeah.
to learn these practices.
Yeah. Yes. And I think what you said before was so important about, it, but it's hard to make time for it. I knew
Yeah.
time. Yeah. Me too. I have to be reminded too. I will literally talk to myself and say, Pumpkin, come on. Let's just sit for a minute. Let's breathe together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's,
I think, I don't know, I've heard other people say this. I don't know if you, I think you might have said it also in your book, set a timer on your watch if you have to, or somewhere to remind yourself. My little Apple Watch tells me when to breathe all the time, and I don't turn that off because I actually like that reminder.
it is wonderful, right? That is such a great one because breathing is automatic. We don't have to think about it. It just happens. What a wonderful gift we get every day from life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you consciously breathe, and when that wrist reminder activates, it's like, oh yes, wow, I get to fall in love with life in this moment again. Breath is falling in love with life consciously, you know.
That is my very favorite thing I've taken from this podcast episode today is falling in love with life. You don't just have to do it in the morning or at night. I think it's really great to remember throughout the day. I'm saying this as a reminder to myself, obviously. Yeah.
Me
And
too.
the more you say something and do something, the more it gets integrated into your body, heart, soul, mind, all of that. I did have one other question before, not question, no, it was a statement about something in your book. And now I am having a hard time finding it, and so this is not good podcast when I
That's all right.
can't.
It's a perfect podcast because we're human too. I love that. We get to be all of us.
Yeah, I guess I'm just not finding exactly what it was that I was thinking about, but that's okay because you've given us so much wonderful information. There is something you said that I really love. The absolute beauty of body, that statement is that when you are aware of body's capabilities, and you learn to listen and speak to it. It influences the flow of energy around you and through you. There are just so many sentences like that in your book that really resonated in my heart soul. Really. Oh, and you talk about the heart math.
Yeah,
That's a whole thing. I know I
I
don't even
know.
understand because it really I use that as an excuse, my lack of scientific and mathematical capabilities, but I can't help it because it is. I That's a little complicated for me, but
Yeah.
another time. I know that I think that's so interesting how important it is.
Yes, and here's what I love about science catching up to timeless wisdom
Mm,
is that um it's made my work and the work of many much easier because I was one of those skeptics 30 years ago. I simply rolled my eyes at things I shared on this podcast and in my book. But now we've actually got evidence for those folks that that are more evidence oriented, and that's where they are. I honor that too, because I understand that was who I was for a good chunk of my professional career. The Heart Math Institute information on heart's intelligence is incredible. We've got 3 brains. That data is phenomenal. Like, who knew we had 3 brains in our gut, in our heart, in our head, and that information actually flows up. It flows up from our gut to our heart to our brain, or at least they're estimating 70 to 80% as an ascending flow. So I think, we go back to those practices and say, wow, how do I tap into those 3 brains? How do I tap into that heart's intelligence? Even if I'm not quite sure of soul, I'm willing to explore these. And stillness, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And if you're not silent, that's okay. If your mind's busy during that 30 seconds to 2 minutes, no worries. My mind's busy sometimes too. And I just say, my goodness, awfully active today. And then I come right back to
yeah,
heart center, heart on the belly. So there's an invitation for everyone here, and the world needs us,
yeah,
to be all we came here to be.
absolutely. And I love that you are helping people with their own transformations in that way. And one thing you were just talking about, I think it's important to forgive ourselves if we don't do our 30 seconds perfectly, or if we can't get to it. We can't beat ourselves up for that, because that's just doing more damage, more harm than good.
Yeah,
Just so what? Now what?
I
Yeah.
love that. And thank you for bringing that up, because it is actually something I talk about too, is we need to forgive ourselves almost daily. We're so hard on ourselves. Culture's hard on us. Commercials are hard on us. Media's hard on us. We're not
Yeah.
enough. We don't have the right retirement, clothes, hair color, skin color, educate, whatever it is. Basically, the message is you're not enough. So we too, every day kind of say, gosh, I should have done this. I wished I would have said it this day. Why did I make time for stillness? I know how powerful this is. And we can get on a rampage of beating ourselves up. And we simply have to say, wow, what a day it was. It's okay,
Right.
Margaret. I call myself pumpkin or beloved. You can use whatever works for you. Just say it's okay. Uh, let's begin again.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't call yourself something negative, only positive.
Yes, 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 yes.
I have so loved this and could talk to you for, oh, probably days on end. But I
Yeah.
believe it's time that we, you know, sign off now. We've given people a great taste of what you have to offer, your personality, your soul, and your heart. So where can people find you?
Thank you so much. What a great joy this has been.
Yeah.
Um, you can find me at JanineThompson.net. That's my website. You can find my book, which launches on September 6th on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you buy books, Instagram _ Jeanine Thompson _ just type in Jeanine Thompson, you'll find me, and I would love to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. I will put all of that information in the notes, the show notes, so that people can reach out to you. And I really feel that my soul has opened by having this conversation with you and by reading your book. And not that I'm a big proponent of promoting books per se on the podcast, but it really is very meaningful, powerful, and will help you in a very easy way. That's what I love about it. It's easy to read the 7 core principles. You can follow along with the exercises. And yeah, I really highly recommend it. And I highly recommend you because you're amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. I mean, just what a like-minded spirit. It has been such a gift to meet you and be with you. I
Thank
just
you.
loved every bit of this. Thank you.
I feel the same way, and I know my listeners do too. So, listeners, go out there and sit in stillness for a minute to get your shine on so that you can go out and shine on. And thanks for tuning in.